It's my pleasure to introduce Jennifer Layke. Jennifer's the Global Director of the Energy Program for the World Resources Institute. She has spent a good part, maybe all of her career, working on sustainability issues. Jennifer, you can clarify that. And WRI has done some really groundbreaking work on sustainability issues. So we're delighted to have Jennifer here today to provide opening remarks on this topic, advancing sustainability solutions for corporate customers. In the past 1.5 to 2 years, we at EEI and IEI have been partnering with the World Resources Institute with Jennifer's team, sustainability issue. And it's really been a very successful collaboration with WRI, with corporate customers, and with EEI member companies. And we were able to develop and launch an electric company carbon emissions reporting database for corporate customers this past June as a result of that collaboration. So Jennifer, we really appreciate that. We appreciate all the work that you did and that you're still doing to move that forward. So with that, I'm delighted to turn the floor over to Jennifer Layke.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. And thanks to EEI and IEI and the team for this opportunity to topic that's been near and dear to my heart, as Lisa said, my entire career. And that is around bringing sustainability and climate protection into our economy in a mainstream. And today, I wanted to ground my remarks with a few opening thoughts on the journey we've been on together over these years. And secondly, to look at the path ahead of us, because the moment is ripe for continued system transformation and innovation, and we look to all of you as partners in this process. And may I remind, someone's got some noise in the background, if you could mute. Okay, so with my opening, I just wanted to reflect on this journey. And I started in this space in 2000, working with a small group, a dedicated group of 10 companies to try and get 1 gigawatt in 10 years of renewable energy developed for corporate customers. That was our Green Power Market Development Group. It launched what I would consider to be an amazing 2 decades of progress. As we've seen in these 2 decades, we've gone from having these 10 companies to having over 150 companies around the world and in the United States participating in renewable energy purchasing path. But of course, it doesn't stop with renewable purchasing. As Lisa laid out in her opening, we really do fundamentally recognize the need for this shift to low carbon resources and a very clear set of metrics associated with how to make that shift happen. Yesterday's session, I found fascinating looking at load shaping, looking at carbon as the metric, even as we know there are other performance metrics that utilities have to manage for. But clearly, these are times where the corporate buyers, the urban energy agenda, the state level policy agenda, and the utility agenda is converging. It's been a remarkable past 5 years. I just want to note that one of the things that I would consider to be a signal of the maturation of this market was the spinoff that we did along with World Wildlife Fund and Rocky Mountain Institute and Business for Social Responsibility of REBA, a new industry association completely dedicated to helping corporate buyers navigate and build for success in their renewable energy purchasing and their decarbonization efforts. That partnership is a part of what I would consider to be the growing partnering approach a clean energy economy. Along with all of you, we worked in a very close collaboration around how to make tools happen together that can bridge the needs on data and information around the successes and around the journey that we're on. So in looking at the agenda for today and the go forward agenda, there are really 3 things that I would encourage us to begin to focus on. First is this role of partnerships. As I mentioned, we see that as critical in our strategies within WRI to help build that clean energy economy, the low carbon future that we are all looking for. The second is really to begin to think through, and I know we talked about this yesterday, the decarbonization of sectors of the economy that can be electrified, looking at transportation, looking at heat, and really beginning to focus in on the role of the utility energy procurement, but also in decarbonization of the end use sectors more broadly. And then finally, the kinds of innovations that we need to see that focus on the ability to engage in a constructive policy framework and dialogue around markets, policy, and the approaches that we can take together to advance this agenda. So I'm going to start a little bit with the corporate and other end use sectors and the ability to do procurement quite differently. The procurement approach that we've taken has been one where the product requests and the innovation requests have come from the buyers into the marketplace for a variety of differentiated products. Now, I do think that the importance of the procurement approach has gone far beyond now the corporates as the primary use of the procurement mechanisms. Today, we have partnership that we're working on with cities and municipalities across the United States. It's part of a program that's called the American Cities Climate Challenge, funded by Bloomberg Philanthropies, and we're working very closely with Rocky Mountain Institute, one of our longstanding renewables procurement. Lisa mentioned at the outset some of the kinds of documents that we've been developing that allow customers to measure their carbon emissions, but also the kinds of procurement opportunities around green tariffs, which I know was attached into the appointment here, and the importance of recognizing innovation in tariffs is something that I wanted to highlight today. I was struck in looking at that document at just how far we've come. When we started looking at green tariffs in 2015 within WRI and the REBA program, there was only one or two products that were actually geared for corporate use. Today, according to the report, there are over 37% of corporate renewable energy products are procured through green tariffs. That is remarkable. 36 electric company green tariff programs are approved or pending, and that is quite a scale up. But those are also often going to be niche products, and right now we're looking at how to diversify to also access these types of green tariff programs. Those are different types of consumers. They have different needs, and we look for innovation in this space of municipal and city-wide green tariff programs and other types of products that you all may be able to offer over time. I would note that one of the things that I found most compelling recently is that the cities themselves are increasingly looking at how to do a bifurcated approach, how to look at the on-site and local needs of the community and energy economy. And for utilities, these are important signals, right? So thinking about where we see community energy, community solar, the kinds of products and innovation that cities are looking for are going to be much more place-based. Where we saw the corporates being able to embrace things like virtual power purchase agreements in some markets, or working very much on the large-scale projects, cities are creating a much more balanced portfolio between smaller projects that may be grid connected or may be dedicated, but that really need to address local concerns around equity, local concerns around the kinds of workforce development and programming, that may be available to them in close proximity within their city or within their state. Those are important attributes for the cities to take forward. So I want to move from the procurement space and talking a little bit about how far we've come in that space to talking about where and how we see some of these for electrification. Clearly, the United States today is lagging behind other major markets like China in electrifying our vehicles. Whether that's bus fleets or whether it's private passenger vehicles, we know that the United States has not had a comprehensive strategy. Associated with electrification. Your members and the Powering the People sessions in the past, I think, have driven a lot of the agenda. I was also struck yesterday by the comment that, the slowdown in purchasing of electric vehicles and perhaps the continued engines is actually lost revenue. It's actually a business impact associated with business as usual in the vehicle space. And I would encourage you to really think about that, because of course it both advances the decarbonization efforts. It can help us build back better the U.S. economy, really embrace this shift to electric vehicles and electrified transportation as a whole. So our strategies associated with doing much more focused procurement in the EV space brings these two pieces together. And finally, buildings. The importance of thinking through product innovation and engagement approaches in the built environment has never been more pressing. I think all of you have seen the data associated with energy efficiency, and we covered some of this yesterday. Building energy efficiency is falling quite far behind in terms of the deployment of low carbon solutions. Between electrification of buildings, the transportation electrification, and energy efficiency have never been more compelling. So we need to really focus again on how we build these partnerships to do it. And let me end my opening comments with a reflection on what policy needs are today and what we do need to do in partnerships. So we've been very interested at WRI and elsewhere in the kinds of agenda-setting dialogues that could advance these topics. Let me just name a few. First, we know that through our Clean Power Council, which some of you participated in, which it was a project that concluded last year, we were able to identify some overlapping areas of opportunity and concern. How to take that forward into the context of helping support innovation in the utility sector is something that we're very eager to continue. We have a partnership that we've been running with the Great Plains Institute that is put out recommendations for policymakers for heavy industry. And the more that the utility sector can become in as a partner in those kinds of programming, I think it may be very important. It's called the I3 process, and there are recommendations on board. We'd welcome engagement from EEI's membership in that agenda as well. And finally, when we look at the kinds of things the markets are grappling with, we've been very pleased to see some of the overlapping agendas. We've been working with some of the cities, help them build a seat at the table in terms of policy engagement, whether that's through the state-based or wholesale market engagements, or whether it's through processes that can be engaged with you on long-term planning for your resources to meet their needs. So this is a moment where in 2020 we have had a very challenging year, but we have a lot of opportunities to focus on that Build Back Better agenda, the partnership opportunities that we've seen. And I'm eager to hear from our friends at Google and Walmart, whose thunder I don't want to steal, because in fact, the kind of their needs, their requirements for 24/7 renewable energy or zero carbon energy, the need for supply chain engagement, and the ability for us all to connect these dots